Hey, how are we doing?
Hello.
It is time for the live show. Happy holidays to everyone.
Well, not to everyone.
Well, I'm sure not to those not in America, I guess should be the point. For us, it's just another work day. We did some stuff as just always we do. I don't do much during days like this. Of course, we're happy for the 4th and all that, but work-wise comes first, so it's just obviously another day.
Yeah.
We had a storm come through, so it's delayed a few moments.
Oh, okay.
So
I
you'll
got
see
you.
it. We are live. Boy, it's really delayed too. It looks like we've got a big delay today, so I don't know why there is such a big delay. Hopefully everyone can see and hear us. Hang on just a second here. Let me reload our page here. Give us just a second here. We've had some issues with the internet here locally. That's not the page you're looking at. So
Oh no, I'm talking about what was it yesterday? The day
yeah,
before?
they had the internet. Well, pretty much all of our phone was down because of an issue with our neighbor, and they're actually running new lines. So we weren't sure if they'd even have it done for today. So I was out of commission from doing like most anything uploading and things other than videos I had done. Because with my phone, it's just not practical to try and upload from the phone. So anyway, we were just running it off of there. As soon as I can see another shot of our feed, because I don't have a feed showing up for anybody here. It's totally gone.
It's a good day.
Here we are. Okay, hopefully everybody can hear, see, and everything else is fine. Hang on, feeds all over the place already.
Brandy and rum. Duncan's asking.
Hang on, I'm already.
Tea. Rats.
No, it's
It's just iced tea.
Iced tea and Kool-Aid. We got some Bombay Blue Sapphire the day before, though. The big bottle this time. We got the full
big
size.
daddy bottle.
Because it was on sale and it was cheaper, so, Hang on just
The
a second
squirrels
here.
love it. No, it's awful. Could you imagine?
Hang on just a second here. I already got a question. Let's answer a question here on 78s. Hi, Audrey. How are you doing? Quick question for you. When there's no comps for a 78 record, what helps you to price it? Style, artist, label. All of the above. If they're 78s and they're like pre-war, Victor Batwing or a Scroll Victor or something like that, or a Columbia D label, you'll get to know the age on the label and the style of music. On some of the performers for 78s, some of them went under like dozens and dozens of different names. Like Cal Stewart's one that you'll see. He has many different names. So you may not find any comps and not realize who it is. I know that's kind of hard and to figure out. Pop Psych, usually you can find most of the information on most of those type of performers. At least that's my personal experience. Some of them I just know from doing this for such a long time. Hang on a second.
Uh-oh.
I think I know what the issue is. Excuse me for just a second there. The one thing I forgot to do.
Duct tape?
No. Sorry, folks. This should fix the internet issues the best I can. That ought to do it.
We went out with a bang. Went on
Yeah,
with a
I'm
bang.
sorry. Let's pop back to that for a second here. 78s, I use Pop Psych for 78s. I use my own personal knowledge. It depends on what it is, Audrey. I wish I could just give you a direct answer on that one. You get to know the vintage labels, what's good, what's bad, what era they come from after a certain point. What you really want in 78s are either, R&B classics, rock and roll classics, or you'd also want, let me see if our feeds looks like it's running from my end, slow as can be.
Yeah.
No drop frames, nothing else. It should be fine. Let's reload the page one more time. Sorry, folks. We're kind of at the whim of our internet connection here. We do not have an option for a better one either.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and they bought out, AT&T bought out the competitor, which we were going to go with Spectrum, but they actually own Spectrum now, so they pretty much sunk it just before they actually said we could get service, and then they put us off, and then AT&T bought them, and now we're back to the same.
It's like the 1970s Ma Bell, Saturday
Yeah,
Live.
they owned everything.
Lily Tomlin used to make fun of.
She was rude and hung up on people. Yeah, I remember that. hopefully it's playing fine on everybody else's end. My end, it's running slow, and it shouldn't be. So there's nothing running.
Chat.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if we
gone.
don't even have a chat.
Hang on just a second. Everything's still running slow. Oh, yeah, this is great so far
Maybe
today.
we should get a crystal ball so we can see things.
Okay. Hopefully we're back on and everything looks like it's playing fine at this point on our side. So let me pop up and finish answering Audrey here. Okay. Again, you're going to have to know which ones are early and which ones aren't. I've showed a book, and I'll pop the same book. Audrey, you're Patreon, so I will pop a image of the book cover. It's something you can get from the library. I wouldn't buy it, but in the book are pages of just what labels look like and when they were made. That's key to knowing it. And the other thing I would say is anything that says Foxtrot is a jazz. So if it's early, it's pre-World War II, and it says Foxtrot, it has a potential for a decent value from what I have personally seen. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I know that's not really a superb answer. There's real no way to tell you how to do it. Use Terapeak. Terapeak has some on there too. If you've got I think it's Anchor Store. Well, I'm not really sure what level eBay gives the Terapeak with, but we have it as an Anchor Store. I thought they said anybody with the store got Terapeak. There are some prices on Terapeak as well. So hopefully that's something that you guys can use too. I do use Terapeak occasionally. Discogs I use too. Sometimes when you can't find them on PopPsych or eBay, Discogs will have them. And usually if I find it on Discogs, it means it's not worth much at all, if that's the only source. Usually it's the cheaper discs on Discog for 78s. Most high-dollar stuff for any genre or any type of material will sell on eBay first, like hip postcards or something like that. Most postcards, if you want the top dollar, they're going to need to go on eBay, no matter what. I don't care what most people say. I'm on most of the sites. And I'll always get higher on eBay than I would on most any other standard secondary sites like hip postcards or anything like that. So, I'll go into some more, Audrey, in another video on 78s and try and go over some of the key labels. Maybe I'll do that for you. For those in Patreon, I do see 1, 2, 3, 4 people for sure in Patreon. New video is literally going to be up tonight. I would have processed or had it uploading right this very second, but we've again had issues, and I don't want to run 2 basic feeds, one upload and then one of us live. So, obviously we're dragging on our end a little bit here. Maybe it doesn't look like that on your end, but on our end it does. And it doesn't look like there's much I can do with it, actually, unfortunately.
Hi from Nova Scotia. Can't wait till we go to Canada.
Here. Yeah, next year we'll be in Canada for a little while. Let's welcome folks in here. I've got Rock and Roll Resale. Welcome. Yeah, holidays I work. It doesn't matter to us. Hauptmann, welcome again. Duncan.
The Vegemite mistaken for nuclear waste.
Somebody's actually sending us some Vegemite. So they sent me a note saying it's in the mail. So I'll be interested to see.
Listen to Men at Work.
Well, I know how we were talking about that. Yeah, definitely talking about that too. Yes, happy 4th, Rich. Shipping Sunshine. Konnichiwa. Yes, arigato. Let's see here. Michelle with 1L. Howdy. Yeah, we're not going to go out to any big fireworks demonstration or anything.
We have 2 little chihuahuas who are scared to death.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. Yeah. So if you hear a bunch of booming, it's not going to be a super long show. We'll probably end it at 8. Just because once the fireworks go off, you're going to hear dogs
barking
left and right, and there's not much I can do about the dogs. They hate the fireworks.
They do.
If one of us is sitting with them, usually, or we'll have them down in the our movie screen room area, and we'll have them down there, and this movie will be so loud they won't even hear the fireworks. And we got a 10-foot screen over here too that we watch movies on with the family. We don't go out to much movies, the movie theater anymore. I think
we don't.
The only thing I wished, I probably would have went to see John Wick 3, but we're just gonna wait, and when it comes out, we'll watch it here.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Save some money.
Yeah, I'm not big into going to movie theaters anymore these days.
And you don't have to spend a fortune on popcorn and
Coke. Just get it here. Welcome, Crystal. Welcome, John. Hey, Karen. Gary, welcome, 4th. Diane, howdy. Let's see here. Strong Creek Picker, how are you doing?
You answered that one?
Yeah, I got that one. Ollie Ann, tin can, copper kettle, brass pan. Welcome.
I clean my glasses. They are filthy.
Yeah, and her hair still always has that weird look.
I don't even talk about my hair. Bleh.
Everything else but your hair now. We're almost there. We're almost fixed there. I got another screen coming in. Well, it's here actually now. I just haven't used it.
I can just shave my hair.
No.
Nice big old bald head. That'd be nice.
Yeah, drink-wise, it's Kool-Aid and iced tea today, believe it or not.
I already drank my peach Coke, so.
Yeah, we ran out. She ran out. We had to wait till they got some more back in.
Yeah, my sweet husband.
Yeah, I drove out today and bought her
some more peach Cokes.
Hustle and Grind Calgary, welcome. Yeah, I'd probably be listing or we'd be doing something if we weren't on live show tonight. Yeah, because she was just listing just before we got on here. Black Crystal, how are you doing? Marrakex7, welcome. Nobleness D, howdy. Nova Scotia. I have not been to Nova Scotia, but we have been to. Well, I've been to Canada several times, quite a few times.
My great grandmother and her family were from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I have not been to. I've been to Quebec and Windsor. We've been to many times. Well, I have. The wife hasn't, but
my family were furriers in the early 1700s.
Well, Trader Jack's, happy holiday back to you. Yeah, list. If you do your own business, I mean, if you want to take off, you can take off. For me, I don't take off for anything unless it's like Christmas and stuff like that, or a birthday, or the wife and I want to get out and go to dinner or do something fun or something. Yeah, I mean, we just do that whenever we want. There's no specific day. I mean, I lost a day. I thought, it was Wednesday today.
And you
so
kept
everything.
Asking if it was. You said no, it's Tuesday, and I said no, it's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Days get kind of confused or mixed up when you don't have. I'm used to kids and a schedule, so you set your own schedule up, and after a certain point, when you're doing it on your own, you do what you want. So a schedule isn't important anymore. I get up and I list and I do the same thing. So I do a routine that we constantly do. So, it's not the same thing. And it's hard to get used to not having to be somewhere. It's really a hard thing, and I say that in light because literally sometimes I've said this before. I'll wake up and wonder, I'm late for work or something. Alarm clock didn't go off, things like that, and it took a while to not do that in the middle of the night. From being somewhere and getting up, sometimes at 3 in the morning, I'd get up to be there at 5 if I was opening a restaurant or had a regional meeting or I had to take a flight out. When I worked for Einstein Brothers, I used to fly sometimes. 3 times a week or something, 3 different flights. So that's 6 round trips, basically.
I haven't been on a plane in 18 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, you flew to Boston, I think, was the last time you were on a plane.
Yeah. When I thought we were going to crash, I did not want to go back on a plane, and I haven't been.
Yeah, the plane lost like 1,000 feet from some air pocket and stuff.
The Haitian guy that was sitting next to me, he had his prayer beads out, and I said, "Okay, this is it.
Yeah,
if I make it through this, I'm never ever gonna go back on a plane."
The flight attendant dropped food on the people in front of us,
and hot coffee all over.
Yeah, hot coffee and stuff, and then everybody grounded. No one could move around the cabin, and it was that way probably till 10 minutes before we landed. It was just it was the worst flight I've ever been on, and I've been on hundreds of airline flights, in the past.
I was kissing the ground once we got off that plane.
Well, the flight back wasn't so bad. And it was a 5-hour flight, and it started off that way. We were going from, Orlando to Boston? Yeah, we left Orlando and we were flying into Logan, if anybody knows where we're, or was it Logan? Yeah, it was Logan, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Logan International.
Because we had a 2-year-old.
Yeah, but the one time we took Portland. We've flown into Portland, too, if anybody knows the New England area. Loved the time up there. Brimfields, I know there's some folks here that love Brimfields. Brimfields was the bomb.
Saugus, Massachusetts. Beautiful.
Yeah, we stayed at House of Seven Gables, which at the time, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be a bed and breakfast, and we stayed there, and then in Saugus, and then we were in Peabody, and then we drove through all the way up to Concord and through that whole area, so it was awesome.
And then we had to go back to Florida with all the fires and
there was fires going on. Yeah, and in fact, our flight was delayed because we actually had to circle Orlando for like an hour and some odd extra because of the everything was backed up. There was so much smoke bellowing over the airport area that it was. I guess they were having issues. So anyway, enough about that kind of stuff there.
Long Island iced tea.
Let me see here. Welcome, Dan. Welcome. Yeah, dogs just jumped back down.
Oh, yeah, there's Henry.
Crystal, I just jumped in there last night. Been checking out the stamp videos. Yeah, I right now on Patreon, video 61 is up today. It's done. It's processing. In fact, let me just... Yeah, it's almost done right now. So it'll be up probably just within an hour from the show. So I'm not going to bed till it's up and posted. So we're going to watch a movie or something tonight anyway and try and avoid the loud noises for the dogs. Long Island iced tea. No, I'm not a big fan of whiskey. We both like gin. Tequila's all right with us. Rum's okay too. Not rum. What's the other one? Is it rum?
Bacardi rum.
Yeah, I guess Bacardi we'll drink too. But I'm more gin and Tom Collins or margarita or something
Remember
like
that
that.
time we drank the moonshine from Kentucky?
Oh yeah, we worked at Disney with somebody and they literally had some moonshine that was made in a still illegally. They brought it in. Well, we went to their house, didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah, we went to their house to dinner. They invited us to dinner. And I've never had anything quite that strong, and even mixed in a daiquiri. Oh my gosh,
You
it
could
was
have lit
just.
my breath on fire.
Yeah, I'm sure it was,
That'd put some hair on your chest.
or either that or go blind. I don't know which is worse, but I finished it, but that was about it.
Blindness and a hairy chest. How about that?
I know when my father was around still, my mother and father went out to some friends and somebody had some moonshine there, and it was strong. My father, he could hold his drinks and all, but he took a drink of this, and my mom drove home. Afterwards, which I was like shocked. I was like maybe 10 or something like that, and so moonshine will knock you. I know what we had was pretty strong, and I wouldn't have it again because it burned.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like drinking paint thinner almost.
Yeah.
I mean,
stuck with
this
you.
was the real stuff, though. This was the stuff you see in the movies, kind of stuff. Dump it in the carburetor and run the car for an hour on it.
I
kind
could
of stuff,
see extra dimensions for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty strong. Let's see here. Heard commercials, so I knew. Yeah. Well, welcome. Happy to you. Happy 4th to you, Michelle.
And Annie's there.
Welcome, Annie. Rain here in Sydney for a change. Happy Friday. Yeah, we got the storm and it blew off. I had to readjust the canopy out there. I'm putting a big one in, like a 10 by 12. I think we're going to put in over a patio here this coming up week. Anyway. Let's see here.
Right here.
What is the highest view count you had before a sale? I don't look at view counts, honestly, at all. I never pay attention to view counts at all, Nobleness D. It doesn't matter to me. It just takes the right person. You could have something that has no views whatsoever and been up for like a month and it sells just out of the clear blue. So I don't honestly worry about it. As long as you've looked up your items and know they're worth something, I don't worry about view counts or anything like that. Watchers are what I look at. Only specifically,
Yeah.
view counts mean nothing to me. I know some people say view counts are important, but they could view it for 100 different reasons, unrelated to the item. And this has nothing to do with YouTube or me getting extra views because of YouTube or whatever the case may be. Just in general, watchers was what matters. If you've got something that has like 10 watchers that's been up for a year, your price is too high in my book. I know people argue with me till I'm blue in the face, but if you've got comparisons and comps, no one's going to sit there waiting 2 years for you to mark something down just so they can come in and buy it from you at a cheaper price. I would give up on an item. I would have already long since moved on because there's so much stuff you can buy. I have no issues sourcing in any way, shape, or form. Do we? I mean, we've got so much stuff that it's I could probably not source for another year, and I'm not exaggerating, but unfortunately I should keep saying unfortunately, but with pickers and stuff, if they call you, you don't want to say no because you don't want them going to somebody else if you do need product. So
I have a dog licking my toes. And now he's asleep.
yeah, he's down there.
Right, look at this. This is neat.
Any advice on World War II love letters? I can buy a box for 150 pre-estate sale. This 150s might be what you get out of that many. It depends on how many's there. We've sold love letters individually sometimes if they had like content like most of the time though it's going to be censored out. So $150 is pretty high in my book. I wouldn't spend that much unless you're talking like 1,000 love letters or something. A real good love letter lot on eBay, I want to say the last one I saw went for like $320 or $326, somewhere in that range. It's a category I look in. We've got some World War I letters here right this very second. So I don't think a month goes by that I don't have some sort of military letters like that. So price-wise, again, you might run into some that have some really high prices, but overall 150 is pretty darn high, in all honesty. Somebody's probably going to buy it, put it up. It's a shot. You're flipping a coin on how safe that would be, especially if you're, not going through them all and trying to determine. Sometimes there's inclusions like photos or something inside those letters that might be worth something too. You want censored ones as well, with APO addresses sent to the U.S. That's what you're looking for. You don't want like from bases in the U.S. to a loved one in the U.S. They have to be APO non-U.S. based ones to be worth the most money. If they're not, Don't mess with them. Hauptmann's on here. He'll probably know that as well, too, because he sells a lot of military. But
should I get my Pepsi record, the World War II? Remember that?
I think there's actually a couple down here, actually. The Pepsi, she's got a huge Pepsi collection. Maybe we'll show you that in a video here, but she's got some World War II Pepsi discs, and they're basically like cardboard acetate almost. They were recorded in a booth by a soldier from overseas, sent to a loved one back here. They're almost always USO marked. We've got quite a few, and I buy
we've got
those.
Those in the 1990s.
Yeah, probably. Well, I bought you some maybe 5-6 years ago. I found some too.
Yeah, but the first one that I have was
it's way back in the 90s. She's had some for like 20 or 30 years. Yeah. We've been buying her Pepsi stuff forever. Yeah, it's hard to say, Rich, on that. You know, you're taking a shot in my book on that. I mean, 150, it depends on how many's there. Again, you're talking hundreds of them might only go for $300 or $400 at the very, very, very most. You got fees. You know, list fees are nothing in my book because I only pay a few cents, less than 5 cents usually, the first 10,000. So I don't worry about the fee cost. I'm just thinking about your final value fees. And it might take a little while to sell because you're going to have to put way more than that on it. So, again, you're going to have to judge. If they're from look up the APO address if you're able to do that too. Just type in APO in location, WW2 in just a standard Chrome search. And almost always I can find an APO location. Some locations will be worth a ton more money just because of the APO number on it. Like if you had some CBI material and the only way you can tell is from the APO. That's why I say you always got to look up APOs and stuff like that. Again, that's your only shot at getting some real good money back on that is a bunch of them, like hundreds of them for that price, some decent APOs or some inclusions or something like that. We've done letters, geez, I don't know how many, probably a couple hundred lots or single letters. Well, lots of letters, I would say, in our time. Because sometimes in back in the day when I used to go to a lot more sales personally, I used to be able to pick up sometimes in one day or one trip, we might pick up 2 stacks of military-style letters. It's just, something that happens. Hey, Emily, how are you doing? Let's see.
Yeah, Florida's #1 fix. And Mississippi, too. My dad's
duct tape
king.
My son loves the Gorilla Tape, which you actually need what's the other tape they get?
Flex tape.
Flex tape. You have to be 18 to buy Flex tape, too. I don't know what they do with it, but...
What, do you roll it up and smoke it?
I couldn't say. What's up, Pat D's? Well, thank you, Pat D's. Yeah, check out Pat's channel, too. Maybe one of these days we'll hook up and have to do something, too, on this. Time frame-wise, things have been just hectic here. I love postcards, as you know. I've got a box that we just picked up with around 1,200 postcards. It's sitting right over there. Something from a picker. It's unsearched for sure because I looked through maybe the first 15 postcards and saw enough to get my money back. I paid $25 for that many postcards. I know people talk about prices on postcards. We've got connections with most anything we sell, and that's how we get the quantity. Again, it's taken us 8 years to get here, so you're not just going to start today and already have connections next year.
Maybe you do.
Maybe you do. Who knows?
Maybe you're lucky.
maybe you can do better than us. We haven't had the luck because we're in a area with a lot of other people that sell, or antique stores in general. Antique stores, I don't worry about competition because basically if they would buy 1,200 postcards, they would just go through them and quickly write prices on them and throw them in their store. They might pull out the RPPCs or something and some train depots. But other than that, I can still pick at almost any antique mall in the probably 100-mile area we've been to, and I could probably pick any one of those and still make a few bucks anyway, at least pay for my time plus. Let's see here. Did we miss something, or did it just pop that way? I guess I did. I guess, hang on, it popped around. Yeah, it just moved, and I'm missing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Boy, we're way off here. Okay. It stopped, worked fine, and now I'm sitting here, and we're like way down. Give me just a second to figure out where we're at again. Boy, it's really all over the place today.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, excuse me. Yeah, it dropped down like a long ways. Okay, let's try and catch up to some questions. Yeah, Spectrum I wished we could have had. My great finds for you, welcome. Indiana Buy Sell Repeat, hello, welcome for the 4th as well. All good to hear, glad to have you. Big Daddy 1992, welcome as well. corporate monopoly on data. Yeah, it is, in all honesty, with the Bell, with
Yeah.
the phone companies in general.
I still remember Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
People complaining.
Just
She's
unplug
like,
it.
she doesn't care. We're the phone company. Ha ha.
When I was like 7 or 8, they still had some of the own. My mom worked as a part-time phone operator for a very short time, but they still had some of the party lines and the things you had to unplug, the plug-in style when I was a kid. I remember picking up, and sometimes the neighbor behind us was on the phone and I had to wait. And it was only like that way for a year or two, and then the whole thing was totally gone. But I do remember party lines even back in the day.
In Mississippi, we had it worse. We had Dixie Cup and String.
Yeah, almost, almost. Let's see here. We scored a bunch of Case City, Michigan real photo postcards mixed in with a bunch of family photos and estate sale today. Most real photo postcards from, and I don't know Case City specifically, I can't say as I've had more than maybe 1 or 2, and they weren't real photo postcards. Most any postcards that are real photo from Michigan, I usually put up for at least $9.99. I think is the bottom line in any one of them, and those are the ones that I know that they're not worth more than say $5. Most of the other ones I'll literally put $14.50 or more. If you're going to do a search on that, Michelle, go ahead and on your comp search, do collectibles. Just type in postcard, Case City, and RPPC. And if you don't find anything with RPPC for Case City, just type in Case City, and that's it. And then sort it from highest to lowest. Usually I have 2 screens open. I'll do one with just solds and then one with all solds and non-solds in it, just to get an idea. That helps too. Let's say there's 100 that didn't sell and only 10 that sold. The price you can guesstimate is not going to be super high on whatever you've got. Now, if there's, let's say, 100 sold, like everyone sold and they all sold for decent money, you can judge that it's going to be worth more than just a common card. Case City isn't a big town. It's still not a big town. I vaguely can kind of picture it on a map. You know, my father was born in Michigan. We go to Michigan a lot.
Yeah.
I've got uncles and aunts and cousins and stuff who live just over the border. We're just, say, 10 or 15 miles at most from Michigan border as it is ourselves.
Yeah, they got a good seafood market.
Yeah, we go to a seafood market in Michigan because it's got the best selection
Smoked
within.
salmon.
Yeah,
Woo!
it's got the best smoked salmon. I don't remember the name of it, but it's on a road called M151.
We like it, but we don't know
Telegraph
the name.
Road. Yeah, it's just over the border.
Yeah.
So it's one of the few places we'll drive just to get us, and it's a long way. It's like 40 minutes, but we drive just to get the smoked salmon from this place.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah. I would say you've got a pretty good cards in those, depending on what you paid for it, of course. If it's like downtown shots of Case City, they're going to be worth more. If it's got trolleys in it, they're going to be worth more.
Oh, yeah.
You want 20s or before, those are the ones that are going to be worth the most. A lot of in fact, I think there's a lake in Case City, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I do have a Case City real photo postcard or sold one. That does sound familiar. If there's a lake in it, and there's lakes in almost every photo I've ever gotten from Michigan, or at least some of the towns. So you got at least $15 a piece, I would imagine, at the bottom end for any of those. I put them up high and I let them run. You know, if they sell quick, they sell quick. If they don't, I don't worry about it, in all honesty. With an anchor store, the first 10,000 listings we have only cost us 2 cents. And let me touch on this here. I'll get to some questions here in just a second.
You promise?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, though. And I've seen it 3 times in the last, say, 40 or so comments. I don't necessarily answer all the comments, but I do make notes on ones that constantly come up so I can address them. On the fees I pay, people say you're constantly paying for all these fees. I've got 2 stores, first off. So that lowers our initial cost by almost $2,500 a year by having 2 stores. Because that way we can get the first 10,000 in 2 stores for 2 cents, just a hair under 2 cents a piece. Because you get 10,000 free listings. So that's how I lower my costs a little bit. But with the cost we pay, we make so much money off the rest of the stuff that it's a joke when people say that. You know, and let me talk about another YouTuber for a second here, the Bearded Picker Scott. I laugh every time someone says, you know, but you got all that gas involved in going to get the stuff. That he does RA stuff like mad. He's the king of RA as far as I'm concerned. He hit the big one with the Monopoly, Millennial Monopoly. I'm sure most people have seen that one. He got like 6 million views on that video. Scott's a good guy. He laughs and says the same thing. It's cost of doing business. Gas is a cost. It's just an expense. When you're making hundreds of dollars, and by the minute when you're RAing or when you're doing stuff like us. I don't worry about the fees at all. If I make, well, I'm not going to shout out some numbers here. I don't want to give you everything, but we make well enough to compensate for any expenses, including labor. When all is said and done, if I take into account my labor, my listing fees, all of my business expenses, including electricity, gas, or whatever else, I'm making around 80%. It's just over 80% profit. That's bottom end. That's bottom line, 80%. So if I sell $1,000 worth of stuff, my fees and stuff out of that, bring it down. I'm getting $800 basically back out of that. And that's day in and day out. It doesn't stop. Doesn't stop in the summertime. Our sale, in fact, today we've already done almost 600 on the 4th, and I thought for sure we'd be slow today.
Yeah.
But we listed today. We listed in the morning for many hours. We listed yesterday, many hours. So I'd have stuff going through, going up. I can tell you without a doubt, and I know people say that ain't true, but if you list every day, the eBay gods will bless you with a bunch more sales, because if I list 100 items, I'm going to sell 3 to 5% of that right off the bat. And some days, if we sell some or list some good or better stuff than usual, I'm going to make well over that. We might sell 20% of what we list in that day. And again, then we're selling the other 25, 30,000 items. Stuff sells throughout that too. So, the expenses are nothing. I mean, I make so much profit margin off of everything else. It's a joke. I mean, the expenses are a joke, the fees. And sometimes I pay, what do we spend, $4,200 in one store? We've spent, almost $5,000 in list fees and fees for 1 month in just one store before. Mind you, we make a lot of money off of that store. So, $5,000 in fees may sound like a lot, but if you're raking in over $20,000 in a month, that's, it's just all cost of doing business. It's nothing. It depends, on the fees as well too. Sometimes we'll have a bunch of lists that are listing items that go up, and I might have, $500 extra just in listing fees. Let's see here.
Annie had a question.
You've talked about it before, but when you're grading 78, is it more the sound or the? I grade 78s visually.
What?
A 78 they're deep grooves, and I've got some videos, Annie, too, and I think it literally says grading or records in the title. So if you do how to and search by records, you should be able to pull those up. There's 2 of them. There's 2 technical standards. VJM is what you grade a 78 by. Goldmine standard is a 45. NLP, and novices who aren't deep into 78s will also use Goldmine for 78s. I don't use Goldmine for 78s at all. Everything I do is VGM, which has like grading scales of like a V minus, a V plus, E minus, E plus, and then N is a mint copy. So those are the standards, the grades that I would buy in. If you want to be able to tell if it's going to skip or something on a 78, get a real bright light and just hold it at an angle looking through at the light. It's going to reflect off and you'll be able to see it. A 78 that's cracked or scratched up, as long as it's not like gouged out of the grooves, will still play just fine. We've taped 78s together just to get a clip off of it, a broken one. And I've had 78s that were broken in 3 pieces that I could still play just by taping them on the reverse side. 78s are forgiving in many ways. Most 78s you want would be mid-grade, which would be like a V or higher too. And that would equate to maybe a V in, let me put it as a G in Goldmine standards. I don't listen to every 78. In fact, I don't listen to most of them anymore, just because my grading is right to the T, and I'm not just saying that. We've graded.
You do it in your sleep.
I could do it in my sleep. Yeah. I've graded 40,000 78s in my day, probably. Safely graded and sold that many would be the key to it. You can look at my feedback. I know my grading, so I wish there was a way to show you in a video, but it's so hard to.
Maybe if you make a cartoon.
Well, that's about the only way I could think of. It's hard to show you a grading on a disc. Yeah. If you can look at the disc and know the grading visually, it's going to play the same way. You'll know how it's going to play. And as long as there's no distracting figures in it. There's only one other way that you might miss the grading on a record. Sometimes a record is cut off center, and it'll wobble when it's on the player. It'll move back and forth. I don't know how you can see, but it's going to move back and forth like retrogression or something like that. And those will play off, and the record may look mint, but it's off center. So that's the only thing that I look for, other than condition, to say if it's going to play. If it looks like it's a little off center, meaning that the dead wax, the dead space between the hole in the center and the first groove, or from the label edge to the first groove, if it looks weird, like it's a little more space on one side than the other, that was cut off center, and those don't play right. Even 45s, LPs, I've had them in all sizes of records other than 16s. I've never had any 16s with that kind of thing on it. So that's the only other thing I could say you'd need to worry about, and those you would have to play.
All I can think of is Roger from American Dad, his Rod Stewart.
My Rod Stewart records. Yeah, we used to watch American Dad aggressively too. And the other one is a Family Guy with the birds, the word. I don't know how many have seen that, with the episode with Jesus in it and the trash. I've got one of those on my phone, actually. Yeah, the bird. Peter Griffin. Hopefully that helped answer the question. I know that's not a great answer for you, but I don't play the records anymore. I've got 3 turntables, including one sitting right here. I do play records. If somebody asks, I play it. I take a clip. If it's a $1,000 or plus record nowadays, I always put a clip with it on eBay as well. And there's many ways to put them up there as well. I usually use Dropbox to upload everything, and then from there I just use a link to add it to eBay. If you haven't used Dropbox, you can get a free Dropbox as well. Yeah, our internet's terrible here, Crystal.
Yeah, it stinks. It does.
And Audrey's got 1,000 records right now, and sometimes there's no comps on PopSpsych, Terapeak, and none listed. Send me a list of the ones you want to know, Audrey. Just the names, the disc title, and I will come up with them for you. Send them through Patreon. I'll give you a real good estimate on those prices on those. I'm really good on record pricings. I don't think I've ever sold in the last, say, 10 years one less than it was worth. And most of the time I get more than it's worth. It just depends on what all I want to do with it. Again, Audrey, just send me a list. Howdy all. Welcome Picking Northwest. Are you a collector? Well, happy 4th as well. Yeah, I saw the Betsy Ross. Yeah, you're not going to find those. Debbie does sales. Welcome. There's Pat, and I've already got down because we lost the feed a few minutes ago.
Yep.
You got hundreds of foxtrots. What you're looking for on foxtrots are earlier, pre-World War II, are foxtrots that you want. They'd be before, like, Bluebird labels. Either one of them. Now, if you don't know what Bluebird is, you'll have to look those up. But there's a Bluebird label that's like a dark bluish, and then there's a buff one. The buff one dates to the 30s. Before that is what you want on most labels. You want early World War I through, like, the 20s, late 20s on Foxtrot. Let's see here. What type printer do you use for printing shipping labels? It's a Hewlett-Packard laser something. I used to use LaserJets, the standard typical LaserJet. Mine is a business model for what we do. I've got the standard zebras and all that kind of stuff for Amazon, but for eBay, I use that because I print out my scan sheets as well. But it prints out like, geez, it's so many pages a minute. It's really fast. I can print out a stack of paper in just a matter of seconds. I believe it's, I don't have the model number. If you really need to know, just put a comment in the comment sections, and I'll be happy to give you the exact model I use. But I think we spent like $450 on it. It's got Wi-Fi in it too, so we can print anywhere in the house, and it's actually hooked up to our server as well. So even if someone's hardwired with, without Wi-Fi, only though we use only Wi-Fi on the laptop base that we have. We got a bunch of laptops. There's like 7 or 8 laptops in here. All the towers and the standard PCs use cabling, so just FYI. But it's a LaserJet. It's cheap. You buy the toners from supermedia.com if you want reasonably priced replacement toner cartridges that are the same as the manufacturers. They're probably half the price what you get them for from Office Depot. And then I'll hunt around too. Don't ever buy outdated ones or older ones. Always buy new ones. I know people will sell the our dog's making me itch here. I know people sell like used and outdated toners and stuff for printers. you're going to run into problems. We stopped doing that because what happens is after a while, they'll jam up a printer because the ink like settles and stuff, and they can't sit around for too long, or they've been in really hot temperatures for a long time. So we only mess with newer ones. I don't buy any from second hands or any of that place anymore at all. I know the odds are fairly decent, 75% or better that are going to be good, but I just don't want to mess with the feedback or anything. We had a bad batch once, and it was a nuisance trying to sit here and pay for return shipping and all that kind of junk on it. I just don't mess with them unless I know the source and know how old they are too. So just FYI.
Duncan.
I'm going to try and slide down, so hopefully we don't lose it.
You'll lose it.
Did I already lose it?
No. There's Duncan's right there.
Okay, well, hang on. It's hard sometimes. This thing bounces so fast.
Yeah, it does.
Clothing sellers complaining of summer slowdown in sales. It doesn't happen to me or Don, honestly. Vintage sales are great right now. I can't keep up. That is exactly our case, and part of the reason why we're listing right now.
Yeah, I keep listing every single day.
There isn't a day goes by that we don't list probably 100 items or 200 items. Even if there's no employees here, we're still listing or doing something. I don't have a slowdown. I don't. This is my busiest month ever, and I do mean ever in my entire life of selling. This is it. And last month was our busiest month.
Just Duncan.
Oh, is he being funny now?
Have a nurse on standby when tasting the Vegemite.
I like all kinds of oddball stuff, so
I don't think you're gonna like the Vegemite.
I don't know. I like a lot of oddball stuff that most people don't eat. I love a lot of foreign foods as well too, and spicy foods, weird animal. I love crawfish. We've had alligator, all that kind of stuff. Snake. I've eaten rattlesnake before.
I've eaten squirrel. Don't tell the squirrels outside.
Rabbit, anything.
I grew up on venison. My dad hunted.
Well, welcome, Richard Johnson. How are you doing? Yes, it is Treason Day. That is officially what it should be called in some ways.
We're bad colonists.
But treasonous to the king and queen, but not treasonous to this country.
We don't. What was it? The queen. Crap.
I don't know what you're talking about, babe. Yesterday. I don't know that movie. Don't go to the cinema either. We get surround sound. Yeah, we've got surround in the 10-foot screen, and that's literally
it's nice.
Kids will have like a movie day with their friends or something else, and it's like what's it fit 10 people on the sofa?
Yeah,
we've got a big sectional sofa. It's like
from 1989.
Yeah, it's an older one, but that way we just pile up with the dogs and it doesn't matter to us. It's just really comfortable. It's one of those big ones with the big huge cushions that are like 2 foot thick. It's
big 80s.
You can just jump on it too. Everybody loves it. Let's see here. How are you doing? Debbie does sales. Let me try it again. Let's gonna go down and see some more feed.
Oh, it was Leslie Nielsen, and no matter how silly of an idea of having
a queen. Yeah. Naked Gun movies. We've got all of those. We own all the Naked Gun movies. He's a comic genius in my book, Leslie Nielsen, in many aspects. Not in every movie, but
I liked him in Airplane too.
Yeah, he's good in Airplane. Dead and Loving It wasn't too bad either.
Have you tried Thunder Shirts for the doggies?
Undershirts.
That's what Lisa was talking about. Okay. One of my friends, Lisa.
She's big into animals, so she says stuff like that.
And she's rescued 2 dogs. One was a pit bull. One's like a border collie.
Yeah, but she wouldn't. Our female dog wouldn't wear anything. We bought him boots.
She would rather die.
She's
so stubborn.
We put her in a sweater and boots, or a coat and boots in the winter because it was like -5. Yeah. We had a blizzard in here. And she just walked out. Well, she didn't walk. I just set her down on the ground.
She went,
and she just fell over sideways and laid there.
Just laid there.
Just whining. She wouldn't do anything. She wouldn't even get up. Yeah. That's how stubborn she is.
She is stubborn.
And she's thin, so she can freeze. Her paws can get frostbite quick. So we just ended up not even worrying about it. Anyway, long story short. Well, thank you very much, Steve Elmore.
Life is great when you don't know what day it is. That's a good one.
It doesn't matter. That's the point. It doesn't matter. Now my kids will be starting school, and I'll have a standard school time schedule, and then our employees will have different hours again. But that's the only difference that happens.
And our youngest, he's going to be graduating.
He's going to be graduating, so it's just going to be through college. And, no big deal from there. So,
And I'll be crying when they leave the nest.
Well, our youngest one won't leave for a while. And my oldest one's got, he's going for his master's in chemistry. So, anyway. We got a 100-year theater in town here that sells discount tickets to
wow.
top run movies. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that sounds nice.
We've got one here that does, like, they've got tables and chairs, and you can get, like, wine and stuff out there. But, I mean, we can do that here. And in all honesty, if you're not sitting up close, it's actually a bigger screen here in our own house because we've got it spaced out just right, and the surround sound's right there, and, you know.
Well, the kids come over, their friends do the SpongeBob marathons.
Yeah, they'll watch SpongeBob and stuff like that, too, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to do the theater thing, but since we got the big screen, and we use it, the dog is really aggravating my nose.
Both dogs are right here.
Yeah, but with the screen, we use that for slides, and I use it for 8mm movies, 16mm movies. We'll watch them here to make sure. Most 8mm movies, I actually watch enough to know what's in it, because they will sell individually for more money that way.
Duncan, he comes up with some goodies.
I wish I would have Annie. I wish I would have stop having nightmares about my last boss. You know, honestly, I don't even think about. I think about our good bosses like Lou or something like that. And I know people have been on a while. Know I've talked about this Lou gentleman in our life. Wife knows him. He was good to both of us. He was my favorite boss. We've got other bosses. There's some that were.
Had a good boss.
Well, I've had some that were just a-holes. Pardon me, but just a-holes. And you know, I don't think about them at all because you know they never went anywhere. They're still in the same position. And I'm making more than all of them. Even as a regional, I'm making more than when I was a regional. So I can't complain. You know, maybe they've upped themselves to a vice president or, you know, department head or something. But then they're going to be flying and they're going to be working 80 hours.
No thanks, me and the
and
flight.
They're making it for somebody else. So, you know, I really don't even worry about them anymore, honestly.
So, Duncan, you know you're busy when you put the apricot jam in the freezer.
Yeah, we've done that.
I know. I put dirty clothes in the freezer when I was really tired and sleepwalking.
Yeah, you get into the eBay groove, I guess you'd call it, and, you know, you're just slamming everything out and listing and doing whatever you can. Today has just been a hectic day, you know. It's the 4th, you know, and I had to go out to the store, which, you know, the store was the worst experience.
The little airplane. Me.
That's pretty good.
It's awful.
I don't know. I don't mess much with the emojis.
I would take a hot air balloon ride. Not a hot air, a blimp. That's
maybe a blimp, not a hot air balloon. I've seen too many hit telephone poles and lights and stuff. It would go right into the
power lines with me, and then I'd die. I don't have good luck. But I'd take a blimp. You just, what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, Annie, the Seven Gables, this was back in like 92 or 93. It was all like right there. I don't remember if it was actually, I think it was in the house, but maybe not.
No, I don't think it was. I think it's
been a long time. It was back there, but the reservations were for the house of Seven Gables.
No, but Annie's right.
Yeah, maybe it's been a long time. Because it has an awesome secret passage, the book, however, is dull. Yeah, we tried to read there back in school years and years ago. We stayed in through Boston area, and we were up there for like 5 trips, I want to say we flew up there. And we stayed for like a week or 2 at a time. I think one time we stayed for almost a month at one time.
I didn't want to go back to Florida.
It was fun. It was nice. Let's see here. I thrift most every Tuesday in Portland, Maine. 3 Goodwills and the bins within 10 minutes of each other. Yeah, we have nothing here.
Oh, I'm envious. I'd like to do that.
Bins are 3 hours away one way, and then there's no savers. Salvation Army's awful. Goodwill around here is awful because they send most of their stuff either to their auction site or to high-end Goodwills. And then what's the other one around here? Salvation Army, Goodwill. What's the other one? We got one more. I can't think of the other one. And I know the Goodwill here even scans their books and stuff too, because I've seen them doing it. So, you know, there isn't any thrift store sourcing. We did go the other day. I did find some records, and that's literally, and it was only 78s mostly for everything I found. So, I mean, that was the most of our finds. I found some printer paper. So, I mean, we made a couple $100, but if I had to live on thrift stores around here, we'd be living on the street probably, or you know, we would just be nowhere near where we're at now. It's just not possible with the sourcing. So we've sought different avenues and ways to source around here. In all honesty,
when we go to Canada, we're going to stop at I forgot what they call the
duty free shop. Oh yeah, I can't think of it either. Somebody will shout it out, I'm sure. I've been in Maine. Yeah, we've got, as I said, there's one in Columbus.
Maine, we went off the coast.
Yeah, we went whale watching in Gloucester.
Yeah, I got to see the humpback whales.
Now we're up to Pat. Welcome again, Pat. Sandy, welcome.
Pennsylvania.
Steel Prop, how are you doing? Jason, welcome.
Minnesota. I would like to go to the Mall of America. That would be so nice.
Yeah, a bunch of crowded people. I'd be aggravated probably.
It would be great.
Brimfield's now I'd want to go to. You liked Brimfield's.
Yeah, I would just want to go to Legoland. I heard that
a little
they
too
got
old for Legoland.
No, you're never too old.
Welcome, Geezer Man.
Every time you refund for an item.
Let me slip down here. Okay. Happy back to you. There are time you refund for item, but not the shipping you paid. We just refund the whole amount. I don't sit here and argue over shipping. It depends on what it is. I almost never have a refund in the first place to even deal with. I think the last one I did have, I kept the shipping because they held on to it for like 2 or 3 weeks or something. Now, what happens if you don't refund the entire amount? You're fine. They'll just open up a case if they're not happy with eBay, and you'll never. Well, it depends on your store level too. If you offer free return shipping, eBay covers anything else from there. So if you gave somebody a half or a partial refund and you offer free return shipping, then eBay will handle anything else. If they want the rest of their money and they want to argue over it, eBay will handle it. You won't lose a dime after that point either.
My God, hold on. Dogs.
Dogs.
Henry, stop.
Don, if you list every paper item you had at $10 and they all sold, how many millions would you have? You know, we were thinking about that the other day. I've got 290,000 records. Literally. And if I listed those at $10 a piece, just the records. If I listed the paper, we've got, I would say, close to 300,000 pieces of paper that are all sellable, worth something that we haven't listed. And again, I got nothing into it. I know people say, well, why don't you have it up? You're just hoarding and this and that. And, you know, you're a compulsive hoarder. That's not hoarding. That's all backstock. I bought it all, sold a couple pieces out of whatever lot I got. I got all my money back in a profit. We sold the higher dollar stuff, and then some of the other stuff is just sitting here. We'll randomly pull stuff out, or a box, or a bin. An employee will take photos, or they'll scan it, or whatever, and they'll go up. We just rotate around with what we do. We're literally, my kids are going to be out of school soon. We're going to be probably getting a building that we would own with a warehouse, and then either that or some property or something, and have a living area there as well as a big warehouse as well. That's our goal anyway at this point. I like to have control, so I'm not just like renting from somebody else and hope that everything goes well. So, you know, that's our goal. If I listed everything that we had for even $1, you know, we'd have a couple $1 million, I would probably gather. You know, it's not bragging. It's just the way it is. Anybody who buys in bulk like us knows what I'm talking about. You know for sure that you can go to the last day of a sale sometimes and clear out, or wait to table cleanouts at a local live auction and walk away with hundreds of items for just pennies on the dollar, you know? It's why I've steered to where I'm at. Again, we didn't have a choice. I couldn't buy clothing to resell anymore. We did clothing. Books have gotten to be almost impossible around here because everybody scans. All the stores that sell them scan, you know? And then there's 2 of the thrift stores that are small mom and pop. I missed an opportunity, and I should have done or looked into it prior to somebody else doing it. And they were able to actually get a deal, another store here that just does books. So they go and scan the books for them and give them a premium for doing that, and they make more money than what they would do by putting them out. So most of the good books around here are just taken by somebody else. You know, it's a fight on the ground for the most part from these kind of stores for us. So that's why with me, pickers have made me what I am, and it really alleviated a lot of the issues that most people seem to have. Let's see, Crystal. I have a book of old 30s through 50s greeting cards that are stuck in the book. Would I want to just sell the whole thing? Sell the whole thing if they're stuck in the book. What you're going to end up doing is ruining the cards if you try to remove them.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Sometimes you might get lucky and some of them will pop out. You might try them if there's any good ones there. I try to only buy clean cards. You know, like People's Attics, you'll find boxes of them that have already been used. They'll just throw them in a box and save them forever and stuff like that too. So if you haven't hit the like button too, I see we've got close to 80 people, which I'm really surprised we have that many being a holiday. Most people, and I've gotten emails from people earlier today and a few texts telling me they weren't going to be around tonight. When we're done here, we're gonna be off to do our own thing anyway. So if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for us. At least give us some love there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers it, Crystal. Just sell them the way they are. If they're good enough cards, they'll still get you some good money. Diane, I found a hat box just like the one you repaired on Patreon. Sadly, it was empty. Do the hat boxes sell alone? I don't know if it would be worth repairing. It's hard without being able to see it. People will buy a hat box on its own. You might get 30 or 40 bucks for it if it's old enough. That's probably top end. I fixed it just to show, as well as it'll help improve the fact that I got the entire thing together. Not only did the box have the original hat, it had the cardboard insert and that other paper hat, which I've never seen in my life ever. Yeah. And we've seen and bought hats for years, these old style hats. So
when I used to watch the I Love Lucy show, she and Ethel were always buying hats in those little boxes.
Oh yeah, and carrying with the little hangers and stuff. In fact, I wish that one had the string that went with it, because you can see the lines where it was.
Cool.
If you're in, Diane, in my Patreon, you're welcome to post some photos. You can post them in on my Facebook group page, but I don't get to that nearly as much as anywhere else. Excuse me.
Yeah, the dog's getting to you. We should get more dogs.
No. Yeah, the dogs are right here. Most of the time they don't bother me, but
when they're right up on you.
Yeah, sometimes they do. Hang on just a second. I know that's not the bot. Yep, see, it just bounced all over the place.
Oh, you got...
We've got
Did
two.
You know that?
Nope. My feed's all over, so I apologize.
You might want to scan down
I
just
need to go back
sure
up to make sure we didn't miss any.
Did you get those?
I'm going to pop down to those in just a second. Oh, let me go down and get those. For some reason, my feed is not showing
what the
anything.
heck's wrong with us?
Well, thank you, Nevermore, for the $2 super chat. Thank you very kindly. If you haven't checked him out, check him out as well. He's got a real nice YouTube channel, and he has his own antique store as well. Hopefully that's going well for you too, John. And then I did see another one. And Pat Dees, thank you as well. Thank you very kindly for the $2 super chat, Pat. And as well, they both have channels as well. You know, it's always good to support other people. I don't have much time to watch many videos at all. As much as I really like watching videos, the only thing I usually have is music playing in the background off of YouTube these days. I had somebody ask on Patreon, too. I'm going to post a couple of my playlists for music on Patreon for those who might be interested.
Benadryl?
Maybe later after we're done.
Oh, it does make you sleepy.
Yeah. Let me pop back here.
I could just keep poking you if you fall asleep.
Where are we?
Somewhere in the universe.
Oh, my nose is itching up a storm. Hang on, let me get back up to where we were. Yeah, I'm past. We're way up. My feed's all over again, so I'm sorry, folks.
Okay,
yeah, I see where we're at. We're down further. I just bought one where they were taped and I can take them out without much damage. Yeah, I know. But if they're glued, sell it as a whole. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with them at all, as Annie says. I try not to buy the taped ones because it leaves bad stains on them. So I don't mess with most of those. I'd rather personally buy one that's glued in and sell it as a whole than buy one that's taped in and try and sell them piece by piece. Just because most of the time it'll be like the best card in there. A real nice, like, flocked Santa Claus from, like, the 30s. And it'll have tape right over his hand or something. And most of those, if I'm selling a single card, they're going to, like, a crafter or something for good money. And they don't want one that's got damage. I learned that the hard way years ago. Let's see here. Yeah, if they're stuck down, don't try to pry them off.
Right there.
So now I've got one showing up. Well, thank you very much. Debbie does sales. What can you tell me about antique sheet music that is from the 20s? Most of them are very common. I can tell you that to start with.
I always like the illustrations on a lot of them.
Illustrations can sell some of them. What you want are foxtrots by someone well known. Lindy ones will sell. The Charleston will sell. The Eagle, you'll see. That's all Lindbergh, Charles Lindbergh. Anything, not anything, but a lot of the military ones will sell. You want graphics on them as well. Visual, E.T. Paul. If it says E.T. Paul on them, P-A-U-L-L-E, I think, or P-A-U-L, I think it's Paulle, but I could be wrong. E.T. Paul is what the name is for another one you want to look for. Those go back to the 1800s. One thing to consider, too, on those, Debbie, there's two sizes of sheet music. There's large format and small format. Well, I hate to have you run up and grab some, but I don't know where I could tell you where to grab. There's so many all over.
About where?
Yeah, never mind. It would take me a minute. Large format are, well, the standard format what you see nowadays are about the size of a magazine. Large format are like 11 by 14 or in that range. I don't have the standard size dimensions here in my head on those. I just know it's a large format versus the small format. 20s ones that are large format are usually better. War-related ones that say a specific regiment. Jazz greats are always good. Anything that says ragtime is usually really good as well. 20s is a little late for ragtime. If it's a ragtime from the 20s, it's a rehash. Charleston, though, always sells movie-related ones, Charlie Chaplin ones, Max Sennett ones, Harold Lloyd ones. Fatty Arbuckle, I usually sell his too. Early productions of Wizard of Oz from the 20s always sell for us. Stuff like that. Famous people in them as well. It's key. There's just so many sheet musics. I look them all up, every one of them. Terapeak is very good for looking up sheet musics. If I can't find comps, I still will list most of the ones. I'm good on being able to tell which ones are the best ones. You're welcome to post some photos in Facebook. Again, I won't be on today or probably till the weekend. So I do try and check those maybe once or twice a week, fairly religiously on that. Again, sheet music's a tough one if you don't know enough about the musicians or the style of music. Foxtrot is a key that I look for, especially in 20s sheet musics. Sometimes a sheet can be worth more. Let's say there's 4 copies of the same sheet music. In the 20s, they used to have the specific artist's photo that sung it on that version of it. So you could have the exact same sheet music, and the only difference is the photo at the bottom. And sometimes a specific artist or performer version of that same sheet music could go for $40 or $50, while another one that looks identical but just has a different picture of a different performer on it may only be worth $2 or $3. John Philip Sousa stuff sells. Those are like the basics. It would be hard to go into a full-fledged thing on sheet music. I do have a video on sheet music as well too. Hopefully that at least gives you the basics on it. Again, you're welcome to post some photos on the ones you can't find. I'll be happy to take a look at them. And again, thank you very kindly for that, too. Okay, I think we're not too bad. Letters, I do sell letters all day long, too, as we were talking. But watch out with the military at $150.
Right here?
I have a number of AP photos from just after World War II in the American zone of occupation. To even have parts of the articles they were used with attached. Probably it has a piece of white paper glued to the back of it or folded over the front. That would have been the actual. Those would have been made to hand to a newspaper, and that would have been exactly legally what they had to put in the description for it. Is what those pages go for.
He's asking the best place.
eBay, 100%. Unless they're like super rare, and I don't think there's a bunch super rare from the American zone, just because after the war there was a ton of GIs that literally lived there for years on end in that area until the occupation was done. So you've got almost 10 years or something like that. I would eBay those if they were mine.
You poor thing. Those dogs are really getting to you. And he's right here begging for me to pick him up.
I learned to get old stamps off paper by working on ones that have little to no value. Yeah, I don't mess with stamps. Now, if it's just a stamp on there, you can safely steam a stamp off of a postcard, but you ruin the postcard. You ruin whatever it's on. Most stamps on postcards aren't worth anything, really, in all honesty. Now, I know stamps. I know stamps probably better than anybody I've seen on YouTube other than stamp guys. I've been into stamps since I was 7. So, and I've got a humongous assortment of stamps here. I mean, more so than, I think, anybody I know that does reselling. Let's see here.
You have to go down.
Carefully, because it's not going to be right. Yeah, you can cut them close, Crystal, too. I know people that do that. With photos, I do that. I'll cut around the photo with a big paper cutter I have here. The only bad part when you're doing that, if there's something on the back, you're going to lose what's on the back.
Oh, Rich Sanders.
Yeah, that is high, Rich, as I said. S1 MLP Fit Life, welcome. Happy 4th to you and yours as well. Did I just... Oh, no, it's right there. Yeah, that's why I said you got to watch out because you're going to ruin one or the other. Now, if there's junk on one side, I have cut a good card or something off of a page and just ruin the back side. Sometimes you can peel off the back side enough and get half the paper off by ruining what's ever on the reverse side of it. And if you only want the one side, it doesn't matter with the back side. If you can do it without showing anything on the back and at least rough it up, sometimes you can take sandpaper and just remove the rest of the backing side. You'll still have a little paper stuck to the back, but you at least have a clear, plain back is what you want. You don't want the buyer to see a photo or a card on both sides of it. It just doesn't look right in my book. They don't sell as well either. Let's see here. Let me stop down.
Vintage wind-up toys.
Yeah, we've sold wind-up toys whenever I run across them. It just depends. If you're talking about like tin with flocked fur, those go very well. Depends on who made them as well. Some of the later ones from the 60s and 70s just aren't worth a whole bunch of money. Sometimes the box is worth more than the actual item.
Oh, RPP.
Real photo or real picture postcards, RPPC. Yeah, if you get a good lot of them, it's not worth cutting them up, because if you're going to cut out the good ones, you're not going to be able to sell the bad ones as just loose pages. In all honesty, if it's not something worth, some good money, like 1 or 2 good cards in there, I would just sell the book complete, whole, as it is, and be done with it. Just me. It's not worth spending that much time on something that you might get 10 or 15 bucks a card for, and then have to spend an hour trying to adjust and get into the book, It's just not worth it. You got to think of your time, because time is so valuable in this field in general. Let's pop down and get some more questions here.
Right here.
Do you ever buy from EBTH auctions still located in Ohio? It always seems to me they are running up bids to get max prices. I don't deal with most of the auction houses in this area at all. There are a few that I go to, but that would not be one of them. I know too many that it's scam, or they dump in their own personal merchandise in there, or they have, like, there's one here that people who work there will bid on their own auctions.
Yeah.
Which should be illegal in my book, and I'm pretty sure it actually is. So, why they do that, I don't know, but that's what they do around here.
Let me go take care of the dogs. Bye, guys. Okay. Happy 4th.
We're gonna end it in just a little while here. Thumbs down. Wow, 5. That's a bummer, but that's your own call. Nobody wants the info. That's fine. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, go ahead and hit the thumbs button for us. Meredith, how are you doing? Thank you very kindly for the $4.99 super chat. I greatly appreciate that. Excuse me. Those dogs some days really get to us. But thank you very kindly, Meredith. I really appreciate that. Obviously, that helps support the channel. And if I get my feed back, now my feed is locked. Okay. There we go. Finally. Okay, sorry, folks. My feed totally locked on me. Now let me see if I can get to back where we are. Hang on just a second here. Let me try and get to some more questions. Let's see here. I like high fees. It means big sales. Duncan is correct there. That's why I said we've paid $5,000 on one store at one time, so it wasn't a big ordeal for me. That's fees. That means I'm making a lot of money. It means the percentage fees I'm paying. It's just the way it is. I mean, I pay a lot, but I make a lot, so I just can't complain. Let's see here. Hauptmann. I used to do RA for Amazon FBA. I was selling $12K to $15K a month. Driving everywhere, but the mileage tax write-off was incredible. It's worth doing if you have the time and funds. That is exactly correct. I fully agree with you there. Yeah, profit margin. Profit margin is what I worry about. And after all fees are said and done, if I added up everything I spent and everything I made, at the end of the month, I'm making about 80% profit across the board on average for everything I sell. I pay nothing for this stuff. I don't go to a store and buy clothing anymore. I'm not spending 10, 20 bucks on a pair of jeans I might make 30 on and make an $8 profit. I might only make an $8 profit or even a $5 profit in some of the items, but I've got nothing into them. I get employees that list it. It's nothing to scan. Most of you have seen the scanner I use. You just drop stuff in it and it scans both sides of every item. Never have to worry about it at all that way. It's quick, easy. It sets up easy. It's always hooked up somewhere. It's on the server, so anybody can pull a photo from anywhere, or I can store the photos on chips if there's something that I'm scanning. June was a great month for me. I just started selling at the end of May. I hope to double my earnings this month. May will be, if you're selling to the average everyday items, May will be better than June. I can tell you usually that's what the case is. June and July drop off with, the typical stuff you sell. So if you're selling clothing and stuff like that, that's probably going to be your results. I've talked to dozens of people that sell clothing and books and stuff like that, and there's a couple that haven't had a sale the entire week. So, and they've got hundreds of items up. So, it just depends on what you sell. We switched up. We totally got rid of all the other stuff. We gave away most of our clothing. We just stopped doing stuff that wasn't making us a profit or taking up space. I dumped off china and glassware. All that kind of stuff I don't mess with much anymore. I picked smaller items that I get for almost nothing. Again, it depends on what you can get. If you can't source in your area for the right type of items, you could be dead in the water with sourcing, but you're going to eventually, hopefully, find your way to source certain items and to be able to get past that bottleneck. Sourcing can be a bottleneck for many people. Luckily, it's not for us, but my wife is off Tuesday and I don't list, and every Tuesday my sales go to the tank. eBay is a 7-day-a-week, 300, yeah, that's it. A year, second marriage. Sometimes it gets very stressful as one-person business. I fully agree that could be the case. We list constantly. I mean, I've got several stores too, so it's a different case for us. Let me pop down and get to a few more questions. Having our best day today in sales. Well, good to hear. My great finds for you. Yeah, 78s. 78s, you'll get to know them after a while. That's all I can tell you. It's taken us some time to know records in general. Broken ones will sell. One of the highest dollar 78s ever sold was a broken one. It was cracked. And in fact, the record was used. I wish I could remember the song on it. Maybe the Five Satins or something, but the record was actually used to record a new version of it for a repress on it. Even that's how they were able to do it. And I've got a program and I can clean those up because I do sell just sometimes dead stock clips from like 78s where there's no copyright anymore. There's some that don't have copyrights, and I'll sell the music itself on compilations and things like that to certain groups of people. It's legal. They're all dead patents. I looked into that. I've spent time in college when I was doing that for music-wise, because I do have a degree, and then part of mine was on music. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, and make sure to pack them well because they are fragile. Yep, 2-hip chicks, that is 100% correct. They're as fragile as the most delicate china because they're made out of shellac. It's literally the same shellac that's on furniture, basically. Just really thick version of it. Let me pop down here a little farther. Jeff D. I sold my first 78 this week. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Well, thank you very well for supporting us. Yeah, no slowdown here as well. I do sell 78s from time to time and I have a bunch to list. I'm just always worried I'm not grading right. I listen to them a lot just in case. You can listen to them a lot. The only thing I can tell you, if you're playing 78s and you don't have a vintage player to play them on, they're not going to sound right. A modern needle is not made to play a 78 at all, in all honesty. I know you can still do it and all that kind of stuff. It's just not made to do it. It depends on the 78. The ones that I mostly sell the most are 20s, early pre-war jazz and stuff, and they're acoustically recorded. There's no electronics or anything. It's all acoustic, so they sound, to a normal person, they'd say they already sound bad. What's wrong with this? That's how they sounded when they were new in many cases. So you just got to get the gist on the sound. Once you've listened to dozens and dozens of them, you should be able to tell fairly accurately, I would hope. The explanation in the book's okay, but until you've seen or actually looked at enough of them, it's really hard to go by something written in a book, in my personal opinion. I've done it through trial and error for the most part, so. Pop down a little bit here. Let me see where we're at. I have no idea how to grade them, but do have some decent ones. I never really messed with them, but found a box at auction for a few bucks. And it was so huge, no way not to make money back. Any postcard shows, Michelle, within, if I'm not mistaken. I don't go to the postcard shows in Ohio at all. And I'm going to tell you why. One of the guys here, and he passed away a year or two ago, is a postcard guy, and he knew everybody. Most of the big wigs have people search through them that sell online these days. At least the ones around here. I know people will tell you otherwise, but I can find better stuff, or if not better, the same stuff at an antique mall for about the same price as what I would do if I went to a postcard show. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some good postcard shows. I went to one up in Michigan, and it was really good. Not the Detroit show in Michigan, but there was one farther up. Maybe it's closer to Ann Arbor, and that one was good. The Detroit one wasn't any good because it was just Toledo guys going over there and selling. I know most of the people that sell postcards around here. Maybe not by name, but by booth and looks, because I've shopped for most of these people here. I know anybody around the city who has an antique store or sells them that way. I've looked at every one or have dealt with them at some time in the past. So I don't go to any of the shows here in driving distance from my place. The Toledo show I might go to just because it's right here. Again, that's not till October. I think it's the end of October. I get the newsletters and stuff from most of these people, honestly. I sell my own postcards that we create at some of these shows. Well, I don't sell them myself, but I have people that sell them for me occasionally. So I know most of the shows. I'll probably have a vendor or two that has my postcards at the Norwalk show. So, and for sure the Toledo show. Somebody told me I should set up, but I'm just not going to mess with that. Price-wise, I'm happy with selling them online. Lot less to worry about. I've got 2 turntables and a microphone. All I can ever think about is Beck when I hear that, Tommy. Well, thank you very kindly, Debbie, as well. And Crystal as well, thank you. Yeah, again, old sheet music. Geez, 95% of the sheet music you find isn't worth anything. I can tell you right off the bat, 95% of it. It's the 5% that's going to make you all the money. Most of the other ones I sell in lots. If you got bulk and they're not really good ones, and they're from the 30s or 40s, I'll bulk them up in lots. It just depends on the era. I know you said 20s on those. It depends on what's in them. Like Marx Brothers. I just sold to Marx Brothers for like 60 or 70 bucks, I want to say, somewhere in that range. Sheet music. Stuff like that sells. Stuff like Abbott and Costello are rare. Three Stooges are almost impossible to find. Killer movies from the day. A Cecil B. DeMille, 10 Commandments sheet music would be a primo one to have, you know? Stuff like that. There's just so many sheet music. It would almost be impossible. I could spend weeks showing you sheet music, in all honesty. Let me see here. S1MLP. Just recently found your channel and really appreciate your content. Someone just getting started. They're just getting started. You're going to have to look up everything. That's the one thing I can tell you need to do is look up every single thing you find until you memorized what stuff's worth. I know this stuff in my head for the most part because a lot of places I go, maybe a barn sale, maybe out in the country, I may not have internet connection. You're going to have to be able to know when to sink a few dollars into something without backup. That's my personal opinion because most of the collectibles, like if I'm doing scan-on books, I can download the entire file. We used to pay for the service, and I can download every book price from Amazon FBA, so if I have no connection or some of the places we used to scan would intentionally be in buildings that you couldn't get a signal out, so you couldn't scan. Or they tell you you can't scan. You go to sales for book sales, and they'll say no scanners. You'll run into this, and that's part of the reason I don't scan books around here too much anymore. So you got to have knowledge in your head on some of this. Looking up everything is your key. The reason I sell stuff the way I do, when I can get more money out of stuff than most people do, is because I know my prices. And then I can judge comp sales and price higher than that even as well too. There's more to just being able to look up comps. You got to know, the whole pricing system on stuff. Paper, I get more on most of the paper items that I sell than most other people do. And I'm not just saying that, it's just factual. You can look up comps and you can compare them to other people's items, the exact same item for item, and we do get more. You got to know how it works. Most people don't research comps on vintage collectibles because they don't even think about it. That's why it works. If you're buying a PS4 or something, everybody knows what a PS4 costs, so you can't mark it up $200. But no one knows what a 1905 West Virginia card from some little bay town goes for. And chances are there's not another one on eBay. And most people, if they're looking up comp prices, are only going to look on eBay. They don't have TerraPeak. They may not have anything else. They don't know what price worth is. They don't know what any of the sites are. They're just going by what they see. That's key to making it work too. You got to know when you can throw good prices out there, higher prices and stuff. I price almost all of my paper higher than everybody else. I don't care if I sit on it longer. I sell maybe a few less items than some of these guys selling 100 items a day, but I'm not shipping out as many items and I'm getting more profit for them. So in the long run, I'm coming out ahead by doing this. I do less work and I get more money out of it. I'm not losing out, and plus I charge shipping on everything. So, let me pop down here and get a few more questions. We're going to cut it off by around 8:30 today. Squirrel tastes good if you haven't had squirrel, as long as they didn't use buck to actually shoot it. I went to college in Michigan. The guys used to cross the lake into Canada and yell, "The Queen sucks," to start brawls. I've been to Canada. I have no problem with Canada whatsoever. Justin Trudeau seems like a decent guy. I know his father was there too in that position. Yeah, our dog hates the clothing, Annie, yeah. What's up, Doc? You can run into that occasionally on VHS. I want to say I saw one of those not too long ago. Yeah, Crystal's got a dog that doesn't care. Shepherd's a big dog, though. We've got tiny little chihuahuas. Let's pop down and get some more questions. Paul, welcome. I'm going through a bunch of 8mm and 16mm I recently picked up. It's always fun to see what's on them, and they sell for good money. They do sell for good money. They sell for more money if it's got good content and if you view them. That's why I look at almost every slide. We'll just throw big bunches of them up. I've got 2 or 3 light tables, full-fledged light tables from photograph stuff. And again, I got those at Pick. And then I've got 3 working 8mm projectors, and I've got 1 working sound 16mm projector as well too. They all get used. I've got a backup bulb for the 2. In fact, one we spent some money on to fix. I've got one that you can record, one of the 8mm. It pays to keep this stuff in house. And if you saw, I've got maybe 400 8mm films here of all different contents, dating all the way back to the 30s, or maybe it's the 40s, I would say. Hindenburg stuff sells too, Tommy. I've got several pieces. I've showed them even in some videos. Let's see here. I have so much to sell. Don't know where to start with. On one hand, I want to start with higher value. On the other hand, it's like just list something. If you need the money, start with the higher value. I usually list, let's say I buy 200 items. I'm going to list the ones that are going to get me my money back right away, even if it's just all the higher dollar items. Get all my money back so the money isn't tied up. So when I talk about having almost 300,000 records or 300,000 pieces of paper, I have nothing tied up into them. The hoarders are the ones who tie up money and have everything tied up and stuff. If you just buy and buy and buy and buy and you're not listing anything, you're going to run yourself out of business because you're not listing it. You're going to have all your money tied up. I don't have money tied up when I do this. So it's all, list stuff right away. Like if I buy in fact, I just bought, as I said, some postcards. I don't have anything into it, $25. So it's like 1,200 postcards. There's a couple in there right off the bat that I should get, say, $75 or more a piece for them. Religiously, I get these for some. There are depots in there. There's train depots. If you don't know, our PPC train depots go for a ton of money. That's one of the better areas to look for. Tahoe, baseball, and then train depots. That's usually what I'm in the range that you want to see. Tattoo, people with tattoos, real picture postcards, real photo postcards, those go for some insane money too. Those are like the top 4 categories, I would say. Question: if I want to add a lot of pictures down the center of the page, do you still have to have the HTML code to do that and host the images somewhere else? Most of those are done by third-party apps these days. I don't think you can do that at all. I don't even mess with that. I do 12 photos, and that's all I do. I don't pay for... I pay for a third-party app, but I don't pay for it to have extra photos. I can't think of the name of that. Vimeo or whatever that is that everybody uses, or InkFrog. I don't mess with any of that stuff. I know you can add photos. I personally hate when you have to click on a photo, it enlarges it, and then to see another photo, I have to click the X, move back to the other photo, and then click that, and then exit off again. If I see a listing for something like that, I don't even mess with it in all honesty. And most people I've talked to say the same thing. So I don't know which service does that, but I like to just be able to slide over an image and see it instantly. I hate the ones, and most people that I know say the same thing. It's not worth the extra hassle to look at them. And if you do that as well, and you have a third-party app that adds those down that you have to click on, when you're looking at it from a cell phone, it may not be visible at all, any of those extra photos. So if they don't fit up in the eBay section, I don't add a photo for it. If somebody wants to see more photos, you can send them 5 more in an email through eBay without any problem. You can just attach them to the email, and that's how I would add more photos if I needed to. I don't do it that way. Value Village, that is exactly right, Annie. Thank you. Dropbox, too, if you need to host photos. That's where I would use it. It's free for your first so many. Let's see here, where are we at? Welcome from Virginia, Dad's Vintage Garage. We used to live in Virginia, just outside of Pentagon City. Yeah, whale vomit does sell. It's used in perfume, if you didn't know that. And I'm pretty sure that's what they use it for. I knew there was people that used to collect it at one time when we lived in Florida. Never seen them do it and never saw any on the beach, but I know that that was something that was done. Society for Cancer is in Sylvania. There's another cancer society actually out our way too. The one you're talking about is on. It's like by Talmadge Treasure Thrifters. I've only very few times found anything at that store. If that's the one you're talking about, it's in a plaza heading towards Franklin Park Mall or Westfield, whatever they want to call it now. And I don't find much there, honestly. Their prices are too high. And I don't mind sponsoring or helping an organization, but I can't afford as a business. Again, this is my business. If it's personal and buying something for our own personal use, I don't mind doing that. But for business-wise, I don't source that way. And he says hand-coded HTML also works fine. I don't even mess with it anymore. It's just not worth the time. I know I took HTML and CSS. Cascade style system. I know all to do anything on a site from scratch. I took PHP, Visual Basics. I don't mess with any of that for that. If it doesn't fit up in the 12 image, I don't worry about it. I don't do the extra special fancy. It's just extra money, extra time. Sellbrite, as I said, I'm into, and we hope to have everything up by October. I will have some videos on Sellbrite coming out shortly too. So for those who want to see what I'm talking about all these times, and what's advancing our business more so than anything else is this third-party app. It's the cheapest. It's been around for the longest time, and it was bought out by GoDaddy. So it's going up. It's not going down. And this site, Sellbrite, charges you by what you sell, not by how many listings you have. Almost every other one on the market, third-party apps, charges you by total listings, not by what you sell. So if Sellbrite has to take something down, they charge me for those only. Take them down because they sell, that is. And we can't handle cross-listing manually anymore at all. So that's why we've done Sellbrite. But Sellbrite videos we will have coming out. Yeah, and for like adding a photo, it's the little arrow thing. I don't know what I would call it so everybody would understand it. But then it's IMG space SRC equals HTTP and literally you're going to add the location of your photo from there. I mean, I still am fine to do it. That was back in the day when you used to have to add them that way. That was a long time ago. I just don't mess with it. Keep it simple. Keep it, straight. Don't add photos where people are going to have to go in. If you're adding photos into your description section, most people from a phone aren't going to see them. And it's like 40% of all sales nowadays are coming from phones for eBay sales. Amazon, it's a high number too. So if your photos are added down in the bottom, you're missing out on people. You're going to miss sales for sure. I can tell you 100%. And another thing I wanted to touch on too, just talking about that, somebody said that the links weren't working on some of my listings, as well as theirs, to see sellers' other items. Now, I didn't go back in, and I don't see any way to go back in and fix cell phone friendly, the option on your listings for bulk lists. I don't have any way to do that. So some of my old listings are just going to have to stay that way, because when you've got as many as I have and they've changed how the phone views it, I just don't want to go back and fix it. So anyway, I haven't looked at that. But if you want to fix it on listings and your links don't show up, you got to hit mobile friendly. Right above your box for your description, there's like a little radio button that says that, something along that line. You click it, and there's 3 other tabs in there. You make sure it complies with each one of those tabs. It'll give you a green thumbs to go. Make sure to slide down, because there's a save button. If you don't slide down, it's not going to save it, and you'll miss that whole section. You'll have to do it again. So for those of you who asked, and I had a couple people actually ask on that too. Yeah, and as Annie says, we've had a Dropbox for years. I pay for one. I was initially hoping we could do something with Patreon for that, but I can't still do the video thing. It just gives you a link, and it doesn't help very much at all. I have stereoscopic postcards, but they only have 1 photo on each, but not 2. Stereoscopic postcards. They're probably not postcards, Tess. Hey, welcome, Aaron. I've never seen them with only 1. It's probably not a stereo. It might be something different. You can post a photo of one in the Facebook page. I'd be interested to see what you're talking about. It wouldn't be stereoscopic if it only had 1 photo, just FYI. Stereoscopic means 2 vision, stereo vision. It has to have 2 to be stereoscopic. Let me slide down a little more. Yeah, most stamps aren't worth much, Crystal, just FYI. It's very few these days. If I've got price guides, if you go by the price guides, you're going to get 10 cents on the dollar if you're lucky. Most unused stamps, unless there's something good, are just worth face value, in all honesty. In fact, I buy stamps and we sell them as postage. I buy stamps at, it depends on, how many there are, but I'll buy stamps at, 50 to 70% of face value, and then turn around and sell them, depending on what I paid for them, up to 90% on face value in bulk to someone locally. So I do that a lot, and they just use them for postage. Deals from Virginia. What's holding you back? Just buy a building. My kids are in school, and we're not going to move them out of school. So that's literally why we're waiting, just FYI. So at the end of the year, we would hopefully buy it, have things situated, and then when my son graduates his senior year in next May, then we would be all set by then, and everything would be ready to go. So that's what's holding us back. I'm not going to take my kids out and switch schools. They've been in the same school for a while, and I used to move around a lot as a regional, and our kids were all over the place. So I don't want to do that to them anymore these days. Part of the reason why we're here where we're at. Free, you can't beat free. Let's see here. Sahil Pandit, any advice for a new 21-year-old reseller? I've made 201.5 weeks. That's not bad for your first shot out there. Research everything. Finding sources is key, but having a phone to research everything. Whatever you do, whether it's RA, and in fact, I said I went to Walmart and got the wife some of the peach Coke today. I RA'd when I was there. I came home with the whole back seat full in my car and literally just loaded up a Home Depot box. So, I didn't have any plans to do that. And I didn't think, there'd be anything going on. But Walmart was packed, and there was people everywhere on a holiday. Why, I don't know. But with carts out and marking stuff down today, 4th of July, which I was just shocked. I mean, I literally expected to be in and out. And in fact, I forgot my wallet for the first time in like 4 years. I left the house without my wallet. Got into Walmart, had RA items in my cart, and went to pull up my phone and realized I didn't have my wallet. And then, I had to leave everything and come back. So anyway, you live and you learn. And today wasn't the day to do it because it was the 4th and it was packed. So we're going to cut it off in just a second here. Let's see here. Tess, the image. Oh, I just lost it. Feed just disappeared. I'm going to answer Tess's if I can find it. Well, thank you, Aaron, for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate that, Aaron. I got new videos coming up in Patreon as well, too, for those in Patreon, Aaron included. It will be up tonight. It is literally on its way right this second. Let me see if I can find that feed. Yeah, my feed bounces all over, so it's really hard sometimes to keep track of where we're at. Let me see, where am I at? This is getting to be... Well, thank you, John, as well, for the $2 super chat. I don't know why it's not showing me these. It's showing me some and then some it's not. My feed must be dropping off. Well, thank you very kindly, John. I appreciate that. I think I'm getting close. Okay, the image is the type that is curved at the top and square at the bottom, if that makes sense. Everything that I have seen has 2 photos on one card instead of 1. You post a picture because it's probably if there's only 1 image on it, it's going to have space for a second one on it if it's a stereo view. I've never seen a stereo view postcard. Never. Not saying there aren't any, but I've never seen one. You can see some postcards with a rounded top on it, just 1 single image. There are postcards like that too, so it's hard to say. Sometimes somebody will cut off part of the photo, or it may not have been glued on properly and half the image fell off if it was a stereo view. Let me pop down here too. Hang on a second. I'm trying to find another question here before we let it go. Pat, don't worry about watching me. Pat, I wished I could watch pretty much anybody. I haven't even turned on a video. I watched part of Chris's the other day because it was on postcards, but that's literally the first one I watched. And I do stuff with Dom and Chris, and I don't even get to watch theirs. So my day is not involved in watching stuff. I don't turn on the TV hardly unless it's just in the background here. I don't watch TV shows or TV in general mostly at all. We might throw a movie, as I said, on the screen, but that's literally about it. And that's only at the end of the day and we relaxing or something like that. So I really used to watch a lot of videos, but now the way things are going, sales are most important, and that's all I really worry about. Just get a couple more. I've got 4 more minutes here, and I'm going to pull it. If my feed doesn't disappear. Let's see here. What's the mail rule to ship matches? Matches have to go ground. Just FYI, you cannot ship matches any other way than ground. They cannot go on a plane. You have to write ground on them. Yeah, Diane, I said it's hard to say on comps. Most of the time I wouldn't mess with just a box. I messed with this one here because I had just such a nice hat. I didn't want to have to deal with the boxes. And with the box and the hat, the way the condition is on that, it was well worth the time. 1925 letter edged in black sheet music. I'm not picturing that, so I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, Dad's Vintage Garage. Roly-polies, I've used that term in glasses and stuff when we used to do a lot of glasses and stuff. I still buy metal and brass cups and sterling and stuff like that. So I do still use roly-poly. Roly-Poly Oly was a character from Disney's The Roly-Poly Oly show. So I've always thought about Roly-Poly Oly stuff. And my wife collects Weebles, so, you can't go wrong with stuff like that. And thank you as well. Stamp lover. I do love stamps. I've got hundreds of thousands of them, I would have to guess. And that's not exaggeration. Yeah, Crystal, sandpaper the back. Get rid of the image on the back of it if that's what you're going to do. Use maybe like 250 sandpaper to start, grit sandpaper to start with, and move up to, say, 500 to 1,000 grit is what I would do. Yeah, Steve, I've got stamps galore. They're just so cheap, and I've had them for years. I've been buying stamps since I was like 7, Sean, the GTC is killing me. I honestly sell more on good till cancel than anything else these days. In most people I do, and I've seen, other people tell me Rally Roots is that's all they do. I don't really watch many others, as I said, nothing against Rally Roots or anybody else. I just don't have any time. Most of the bigwigs like me, and I'm not trying to make myself sound like a bigwig, that came off wrong, but most people who have big quantities and make a lot of money in it don't care about good till canceled. If you sell on Amazon, everything's good till canceled. And we do sell on Amazon, so I don't worry about that anymore. I had thought about it in the past, but I moved on. Nothing's going to change it. I sell a ton. Oh, everything we sell almost is good till canceled. 99% of everything I sell, and I sell a lot on both of our stores that we have mass quantity. In our third store, we've kind of slacked off on just because of time. But everything I have is good till canceled. I almost never run an auction or anything else. Even if I had the option, I would almost always run good till canceled anyway. For what I sell, it's the best way to go. That's how I get more money, because I do a bin. I overprice it more than what other people do, and I sell it that way. Again, because people don't look up prices on antiques when they buy them. I was hired years ago to fake bid at an auction, paid $75. They do it intentionally, bidding on stuff. They've even bought stuff from their own auction, which doesn't make any sense. Taking the 7-10 day bin or best offer away stops the compulsive buyer momentum. I don't think that stops the compulsive buyer momentum at all, because it still says ends in so many days. It just relists at the end and gives you a new number at the end. So I don't list or miss any compulsive. None of that means anything to me, because if someone's looking for something and you have the right keyword, the keyword's going to sell it. They're not going to care if it's a 7-day, a 10-day, a 30-day, it's all year round or not. If they want the item, you've got a keyword that draws them in there. You limit the information or put enough information depending on the item you're selling, that's going to sell it. I don't have any issues. I don't doubt that good till cancel for what we sell is the best choice, because I get more than everybody else. Look at my comps. I mean, this is just fact. Again, I'm not trying to brag or say anything else about it. It's just the way it works. So anyway, let me cut it off now, and I hate to cut it off here. We do have some plans that we are going to do some stuff today, so I do honestly appreciate everybody coming on. Hopefully you're having some good sales here. Just one last note. I've got a project going on with another channel, which is going to be several videos of, we're going to do some swaps on here. So, and I've got a second one we're going to be doing some with as well too. So you're going to see some more content in here. I've got a special guest coming up on the 16th. We will announce that a little closer, and I'm going to be on 2 other channels as well too. So a lot of stuff's rolling on here. The Art Professor page, my second channel, will be up within probably by the end of this month. Again, I do have some videos. It's not going to be anywhere near the content, but it's going to be art-related stuff you can sell. Somebody's asked about a Christmas ornament video. That's going to be up on that channel. I don't want to mix everything up, but anyway, that's what I have for you today. I appreciate everybody being on. Have a good holiday and enjoy the rest of the day.